Welcome to Small Talk Daily for Wednesday, October 1st, 2008. This morning I'd like to add Scriptaculous support to our application to allow for dynamic updating based on the menu pick. The menu picks I'm talking about are the filtering ones. To do that, we have to add Scriptaculous support in. So let's go ahead here and go to the System and go to the Parcel Manager. And once that comes up, we come down here to Seaside Web Development, scroll down, and we'll select this and do a load. So that's pretty much that. We're going to do one other thing though. We're going to go ahead and fix one thing that we have left kind of lingering for a while. We're going to go down to our package and we're going to go in here to the storage class and we're going to change the way this initializes. So I'm going to change this to a sorted collection, and instead of new we're going to set the sort block so that when we try to compare posts, the timestamp of this one has to be greater than or equal to the timestamp of that one. And then we'll get our classic reverse chronological order thing. And all I really have to do in addition to that is come in here and reinitialize this. So with that reinitialized, now we can go on and do the work. And what we have to do is go to the browser first, and now that we've loaded in the Scriptaculous support, we have to configure this so that these two guys will use Scriptaculous support. So let's go to Configure, and we'll select this first, and we'll add SU library to that, hit Add, and then go down here and hit Save. And that will add, every time we go into the Login app, it will load Scriptaculous support dynamically for us. We have to do the same thing for the View part, so let's go back out to the top again. Go into Configure, go to the View, add SU library, well, not that one, SU library to that. Now we'll scroll down, hit Save. And that's all we have to do on the configure end. We now have to write the necessary code to get this working. So to do that, we first want to go to our root UI, to our menu UI rather. We want to go to menu UI and we have to tell the menu UI it's going to have a new configuration piece. We're going to give it a list component. And having given it that, we're going to add accessing methods for that list component. And then finally, we have to initialize that appropriately, and that happens over here in the root UI. So we'll go to initialize menu component, and when we do that, we have to tell the menu component that its list component is the one that I have here. So now it'll have access to that, so that when we pick one of the filtering methods, we can dynamically go ahead and issue an XML HTTP request, but we don't have to do most of the mechanics for that. The mechanics are going to be handled for us, and that's what we're going to add now. We're going to go to our menu UI, and we're going to make some changes. So let's go to the rendering code, render content on. Right now, this is just doing something very simple. It's iterating through the entries and then putting out our anchors. What we're going to do is change this so that it's going to put out Ajax links for the filtering and a standard link for the new post option, assuming somebody's logged in. So here's the code for that. All we do is iterate through, and again, this is not the best check. We're specifically looking for the string for new post. If it's that, we put out a standard link. Otherwise, we put out an Ajax link, and we do that for each of these posts. Now that means that we have to write those two methods. Now the standard link is going to look mostly like this method used to. So we'll accept this and let it proceed since these two methods don't exist yet. And now we have to write these two pieces of code. Now I've just pasted these two things in here to save a little time in the screencast. The standard link is just exactly what we had before. Put out an anchor and put out the callback and with the label. That's pretty much that. The standard link is there. The Ajax link is going to be a little different. Here we're adding an on-click action to our anchor. And that's something that'll be familiar to anybody who's done the least bit of Ajax JavaScript kind of work. Here we have the updater, and what that is this is the back-end support to that. So this is telling the Ajax on the front end, the JavaScript on the front end, whenever you have the on-click action, invoke this method into this div with this ID and into this callback. So on the back end, we're going to run this code on the Smalltalk side and re-render just the list component after updating the filter. And that's most of what we have to do. We now have to go to our list UI and add a little bit of support. Let's go to the list UI, and the first thing we have to do is we have to add that update filter method. Let's go in here to filtering. And this is, again, very basic, and all it's doing is a simple check for the name. Not the best code in the world, but it's good enough for this example. If it's the all posts, we set the all post filter. If it's today's posts, we set the today's post filter. And that's almost all we have to do. The only thing we have to do now is go into our render content on, and look here, we're setting the filter block, and now we're rendering each post. Everything's going to work exactly like it's worked before. The only difference is we should get an Ajax action now when we select today's posts or all posts. So let's see how that happens. Let's go out here to our browser. Go to the top, we'll go into View, select today's post, and all we have is this new post we have today. All posts, we get everything. So the reverse chronological order was easy enough to add. That was a matter of getting rid of all the old posts and reinitializing. But here, this is the cool part. Not a lot of code. All I had to do is change the rendering a little bit and add in the Scriptaculous support and add the configuration. And now we get this cool updating without any of the rest of the page. In this case, it's just this header. But the rest of the page stays alone. So this menu stays alone, and the header stays alone. Only this piece of content inside that one little ID changes. And that's all there is to it. You can see how you can take this example, which is pretty basic, and scale this up to some pretty impressive things. And that's where we'll leave it today. Tomorrow we'll add some CSS support, and we'll move along from there. So until next time, have fun with Smalltalk.